And we're going live. Hello, my friend. So nice to see you. Happy Friday. Welcome to Spotlight Fridays. Thanks for joining me. How are you,
Well,
Red?
I'm really good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here and absolute honor to be spotlighted on your Fridays, which have become really popular.
Well, thank you. They're popular because the legends like you joining me on those Spotlight Fridays. Trust me, if it was just me just talking about everything, no one would join. But thank you so much. It's all about you for the next 20 to 25 minutes, as long as it takes. I'm not going to cap you, but if people are joining us and having lunch and a cup of coffee whilst they're listening to us chatting together, that's amazing. Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. Thank you for joining us again. And please say hi in comments and ask us any questions. If we can't answer them during our chat, we'll answer them afterwards. Red, thank you for joining. You are head of brand advocacy at Yotpo. And can I tell you, I don't know if I tell you this very often, but you're doing an amazing job with that. Because I don't think there is one person in this country that doesn't know about Yotpo.
I appreciate that. And look, it's been a hustle. You know me from many years ago, and even back when I was at Trustpilot. So I've been in this in the long game, I would say. And I think like when people ask me like what's the secret? There is no secret. You just you need a hustle. You need to be in it for the long game and not kind of be short sighted. And I think the other thing is like something that me and you talk about a lot about as well is like being genuine. Like there's so many people that me and you meet throughout our careers and in this industry that you can see straight through and they just want to take something. But at the end of the day, you should be able to provide value at no cost and give your time sometimes for free. And I guess that's kind of why I've built that reputation, which I'm proud of.
And you should be, because humans connect with humans that they like. But you highlighted something super important is that consistency, that it's very important because it's a long-term game, and being authentic and being yourself. And I think you amalgamate both of those qualities beautifully. So good for you.
I
Well, that's
appreciate
probably why we've been friends for a very
I
long
think
time.
I was gonna say, I remember like we had coffee the other day and it's just like, there's no BS. It's you get what you want. And I think that's the other thing is as well, it's like building relationships. It's not all about like having a great time. Sometimes there are tough conversations to be had, or we work in the technology space and consulting space, right? Things break, things go to shit. If you can't have those honest conversations with your friends and your colleagues and your partners, then again, that's not really a solid relationship that you've built. The foundation's not really strong. And I think that's something that me and you can do pretty easy, where we get there and we're like, hey, this sucks, this is great. And we have those kind of honest conversations. And I think, again, that takes time to build. Like you can't trust everyone in the industry. We know this. And unfortunately, people sometimes tell you what you want to hear, but it's not always the case. But yeah, I think that authenticness and genuineness to kind of learn and grow is something that we do really well.
You're absolutely right. And that trust factor as well. And it takes time to build that trust factor. You and I had a few tough discussions because, to your point, things don't go well and they're not meant to always go well. But if you have a good relationship with each other, if you trust and you have respect and you have that authenticity in between, that's sprinkled all over it, it's not that difficult to have this conversation. So thank you. I
No, I agree.
appreciate you.
I agree, and likewise.
Thank you. Let's talk about the very hot topic right now about how brands can move beyond the first purchase and build advocacy through very well timed email journeys. And can I tell you, in my consulting life, what I've noticed that everyone talks about it, but there are not many people that know how to do it and how to execute it. So I would like to focus on that a little bit because I know you have a wealth of knowledge in that area. So please share.
Yeah, look, I think we can probably all agree on like it's changed so much over the last couple of years, even the last couple of months. It's changed for multiple reasons. I think there's a lot more noise, on social media or on LinkedIn, a lot more experts coming in, agencies trying to influence their kind of strategy, sometimes to benefit themselves. Like I'll call it as it is. So there's a lot of noise, and I feel really bad for brands because they're lost. They don't know what to do. They don't know what works. And that's the reality that we're living in, and I think that's not going away. And I think, like, at the end of the day, like, we don't know everything, do you know? And I think that's the biggest thing that I could say to brands is, we don't know everything as a company. Like, we're still learning and growing. We're still looking at data. It's the same with agencies. I don't think any agency can sit there and be like, we know this will work all the time, 100% of the time. That's just BS. I think, like, we don't know. And I think this is where it comes down to, like, testing so important. Our brands actually A/B testing their emails that are going out, or communication that's going out. Even visibility. I know you probably speak to a lot of brands, but a lot of the brands aren't even across what's happening if they're doing things. You ask them a question around, like, numbers, like, what is your open rate, what is your click-through rate, and they're clueless. And to me, that's a big red flag. It's like, anyone, especially a founder, and I think this is coming down from leadership up. If I'm a founder or a CEO in a business, I should be across all the numbers. If you are using an external team or internal team, you should be across every single number that is going in and out of your business, especially because email is your biggest channel, right? Email, SMS will be your biggest channel. If they're not across numbers, to me, that's just massive red flag. So I can talk through some of those kind of easy wins today, and if brands are listening today, around, like, how emails can be a bit more appealing and stuff. But yeah, there's some of the kind of the things that I want to highlight today.
Thank you so much. Tell me about open and click-through rate. What is the benchmark? Can you
So
share?
the benchmark, the click through rate's around 2 to 5%, and if you're hitting that 5% mark, I would say that's pretty good. But something that we're seeing, obviously, we're migrating, clients over to Yoppo email, is that they're getting brands are really comfortable with under 2%. Like, we've been looking at some big accounts, and when we do the audits, like, they're sitting about like 1.5, 1.8, just underneath that benchmark. And because they're just so used to that being the norm, it's like mind blowing. It's like, no, that is not normal. That is really low for a business. You should be, going above that 2%. And I think, again, it's because email's been along for a long time, right? Like, since technologies came around, we haven't really educated people properly on it. And like I said, with a lot of the noise and stuff like that, like, brands don't really look at those small numbers that are really, really important. So I think, like, the click through rate is something that people should be looking at, and that's a big benchmark, right? Like, that 1% from, even if it's 2% to 3 or 4%, that's, a lot of revenue on the table that you could be converting. So that's something that I'm seeing as well. The other thing is, as well, that I'm seeing a lot is, like, the deliverability and things going into spam.
Yes.
The education around that is really, really poor as well. Things like, a lot of brands don't know, if you have in your headline things like free, the dollar signs, those kind of things will trigger your spam, and those emails won't land into your inbox. They will land into your spam box. And it's mind blowing, again, that, like, the word free isn't something that brands are educated on. Like, they're not aware that those kind of words can actually trigger spammy kind of emails. And again, that lack of education there is just lacking.
Who do you think should educate them?
Well, this is the $1 million the question, right?
I
Like,
love million-dollar questions.
I know. Look, I've been thinking about this the last couple of weeks, because a lot of people have agencies that run kind of the email marketing, and some people do it in house and they have a person doing it, right? I think both have their pros and cons, and I'll talk through both. Okay, so I think with agencies, I think there are a couple of really good agencies out there that do really, really good work, but there's a lot of terrible agencies out there. And I'm just going to call it for what it is, right? There's a lot of agencies that do probably the bare minimum, charge an arm and a leg to these brands, and really don't deliver the work that they should be doing. Or, like I said, they're charging a lot of money that they really shouldn't be, but then they do these graphs and numbers and stuff. And then it comes down to the education piece, right? The education piece on the brand side is, if you've got an ecom manager that is doing 100 million things at the moment, which they are. I feel bad for ecom people at the moment. They're wearing a lot of hats. Like, they're not an expert in anything. So they see these graphs and stuff, and they're like, "Oh wow, we're killing it in the email." And then what happens is, they go back and they're like, "Oh yeah, we're doing really great." but they're not making much revenue, right? So then, you come to the top and then they're like, oh, well, why aren't we making money? We're making a loss from last year. Like, is it our agency? So there's an education piece there from the agency side. I think that's lacking. And I can tell you some horror stories. Yeah, I can see someone saying churn and burn model agencies. Absolutely. But it's becoming more and more. And the thing is, I came from the partner world. I was head of partnerships. Like, there, I've seen, businesses almost go under because of agencies. But there are some really, really good agencies, and that's the hard bit. It's like these couple of bad eggs make it really hard for the people that are really hustling out there and really doing some good work. Then you got the ecom manager side, right? Again, flooded with information. What should I do? The education there is lacking. I don't think there's any really educational programs around email, to be honest, for ecom managers. We've started running our own masterclasses with a couple of agencies. We bring about 30, 40 people. Again, agnostic, and that's something that we do really, really well. We're not about pushing Yopper email. We're about educating people. Doesn't matter if you're using Klaviyo, MailChimp, whoever it is, Attentive. We don't care. We just want to make sure that we're educating people on email. And they've been really, really successful, but they've been really basic. Like, we're not doing nothing like mind blowing. And they walk away going, wow, we didn't know how to do this. We weren't aware of this. So to me, again, I think there's just a massive gap around education. And to be fair, you can't really blame the ecom managers and stuff. I just think it's like it's been a tough ride after COVID. Like, people are struggling with budgets, people are struggling with leaner teams. So it is really like they are really juggling a million. As you know, probably an ecom manager is a CRM manager now. They're an email marketing specialist. They're social media they can't do everything. So it is a really, really tough thing. So who does it fall on? I think we all have a bit of a responsibility there. I think as leaders, you need to be educating your team. And then with agencies, I think we just need to be, I don't know, people always don't like calling out things on LinkedIn and stuff. At the end of the day, I was chatting to a brand the other day. They lost $350,000 from an agency and almost went under. Like, that's reality. It's like you should be across everything that you guys, everything as a business that you do, you should be across all your numbers. And just because someone gives you a flashy presentation, I would be looking at the data. I'd be going in there myself and pulling reports and making sure that it's actually generally working as well.
So well said. You've mentioned so many things that I mentally took many notes, but I want to ask you about masterclasses. I think it's just such a smart idea to do it. How did it all come about? Was it a feedback on that? Has anyone asked you, or you just decided that
I'll
there is
be
a lack of awareness?
I'll be completely honest. So, with my new role, my whole role is about educating CEO founders and our marketers. And one of the things that I noticed was I put in, I think it was about 15 of our top brands that use us for reviews and loyalty. And we did this in Sydney, and this is about a year and a half ago. And we were educating them on new features for reviews and stuff. And I was shocked how little they knew about their product. And some of these brands were using us for 3-4 years. They didn't know the basic functionality of things in a platform. They weren't aware of, what's the difference between a service review and a product review, the bare minimum. And I was like, whoa, I was like, we're a vendor, we're selling technology, but there's obviously a lack of education. So I started to ask some of our CSMs that came from brand side, and I was like, tell me about your day. Like, when you're on brand side, you have your monthly catch up with your CSM. What do you do after that call? And they were like, we probably pick one or two things that we can do because we're so busy. So we don't do many of it, or we don't educate ourselves. So my idea is like pull these brands out of their business for 2 hours every morning, and we educate. You educate how to use the platform. You educate how to use the functionality. What does this do? What does that do? And for me, it was like it must be the same for email. Like, how much education is there as well? So we started doing these in Sydney, Melbourne, and Brisbane that become really popular. And again, free education. You come in, it's a non-sell environment, and we use our partners. We use some of our agencies that are respectable, and then they go in there and they just educate for free. No agenda, no sell. It's just education, education, education. Because for us, if we have more intelligent, stronger people in these roles, that means our ecosystem in Australia is going to be more successful. The more successful those brands are, the more job opportunities there are, the more growth there is. And that's kind of the mentality that we're trying to take across Australia at the moment.
That's brilliant. Well done. But Red, I'm not surprised that the platform gets underutilized. Speaking from experience, as you know, I've seen it before. I'm still seeing it now. It's very much a set and forget scenario. And there is no accountability and ownership attached post integration. And that's the problem. But if you work with founders and the CEOs and GMs, for example, this is very good because they're the only people who could prioritize certain projects for the teams. And they're the ones who need to know what questions to ask. So the accountability on both sides, because those eco managers, to your
Great.
point, they've got so much on. And yes, in many cases, in 90% of the cases, they act as CRM specialists,
Yeah.
knowing not much about it. And since when in the omni-channel environment, the digital person meant to be responsible for loyalty? This is lunacy. But I agree. So it's accountability on both sides, is knowing which questions to ask, attach the ownership and some KPIs around every single platform because the tech stack these days is huge.
Yeah, I
We
agree.
can't just integrate it, pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, and forget all about it.
Yeah, it's even like, simple stuff. For an example, like, we have integrations going out all the time with like email, for example, right? We just launched an amazing integration with our email and SMS with SearchSpring. How are our customers meant to know every single integration that is getting launched or what the capabilities is? For us, I sit here and I saw it the other day and I was like, oh my god, that's amazing. This, SearchSpring integration is going to do so much to enhance our customers' experience. Do I expect the same for an ecom manager to be sitting there going, "Oh, I'm going to look at all the"? They're not doing that. So I think like that whole education piece is just becoming a lot more important. And as vendors, we need to be educating. We need to be, if you're going to sustain this market and you're going to be winning in the market, education needs to be coming through, and it needs to be agnostic. I think as soon as you start making it, you're branded and you're pushing your agenda, it just turns people off. Like, I think we all have a responsibility, and I think there's enough market share for everyone in this ecosystem. It's like, how do we do better? How do we do better? How do we step up? How do we stop trashing our competitors? How do we start educating? Like, end of the day, we can all win in this market if we all just think about the end goal, and that's around how do we create the best ecosystem. And I honestly think, I've been to America a lot. I think Australia is very unique, and I think we have some of the best talent in Australia as well. And I think like we have a rare opportunity here because we, as you know, we're a close community. We all know each other. So like I think like that's something rare that we can really work on, and I think like as vendors we can really do something really cool there.
So true. Well, thank you for pointing it out. I agree with you. So let's talk about emails a little bit and emails journey. So would like your tips on to share with us what makes post-purchase communication effective in your view and how email can support long-term customer retention. As you know, I'm a big fan of that subject.
Yeah, look, I think this is going to be mind blowing for everyone, but our personalization. I don't know how many emails I get that don't have my name, don't, if I'm part of a loyalty program, don't let me know that I'm part of the loyalty program. Honestly, like a lot of them are just going into my spam now because I'm just like, you don't give a shit about me, so I don't give a shit about you. So just straight into my spam box. But that's how you feel, right? Like it's
Yeah.
there's so lack of personalization or even understanding who I am and how I shop. I'll give you an example, and I don't know if Aaron's listening to this, but it's something that he will testament to this. But if I was to go into Aquila, right, and I buy shoes, I love going in store. Just FYI, I like seeing the products and being tall and got long. I generally will send something back if I buy it online. If I go into, say, for example, in Aquila and I buy a pair of shoes, and then I'm getting online and I'm getting targeted for the same pair of shoes on email or ads, like to me, that's just like, it's not personalized. It's just like understanding like your customer journey. Like, who am I as a customer? How do I personalize that experience? That is completely lacking. I don't know The only brand that got me recently was the basics. Exactly. Yeah, going back to the basics, it really is like Ringers Western did a really good job the other day. They're a big it's all cowboy hats and stuff like that. Like really big, I think they've got like 10 stores. I joined their loyalty program. Obviously, every time a Yoppo customer has a loyalty program, I go and experience it myself. And I joined it, and they had I think it was points for SMS marketing, and I was like, oh yeah, of course I'm going to give them my number. But the communication afterwards was so personalized, and of course I work at Yoppo, so I know what they're doing. But I was even like wowed by them. The message was, welcome to our loyalty club, legend. It was like educating me on like my perks and stuff. And then I got an email from them just telling me what tier I'm in. This is your voucher for your next purchase. The way that they communicated to me was just so streamlined, so personalized, that even though I work at Yoppa, I was like, this is so awesome. This is so cool. Like the way that they make me feel like I'm part of something, but just the communication, letting me know every single step. If I bought something, they send me a follow-up email. It's personalized saying, hey, we saw you look at this product. Maybe this will go really great with these pants. It was just a really cool journey. And I think that's lacking a lot. So that whole personalization piece is lacking for sure.
But you see, this is what you just mentioned. They made you feel good. And it's all about that emotional connection because I know how Yotpo works. You can enable anything, but the teams are the ones who needed to come up with the whole
I
uh,
Yeah,
the communication on theme and streamline it accordingly. How does it all flow? So that just shows that they know their customer very well.
yeah.
They have their tone of voice, they understand the branding, they know why they come into community and all of the above.
I was chatting to Nathaniel, who's the founder at Muscle Nation, and I'm a big SMS user. I open up every single SMS. If they send me a good one, I'll get it. And they sent me one last night. They always get me at the right time. It was about nine. I think I can't remember what time. It was pretty late at night. I was leaving the gym, and I was like, oh, I'm at the gym. I'm leaving the gym now. I open it and I purchase, and I messaged him directly. I was just like, God damn it! Even though I know what you're doing to me, I still always buy from you because it's just the SMSs is just so good. And again, they just make you feel, even though like people are aware, like it's a sale, they want you to buy, but if they make you feel a certain way or connected to the brand, you're gonna buy. You are gonna buy at some point from them again. And I think like that whole community thing is becoming a lot more apparent because it's a saturated market. Why would I buy from Muscle Nation, but not from Lorna Jane? So that needs to be that kind of, like you said, making that connection and making you feel like, hey, like I'm going to support you guys. You guys are awesome. So there's that whole personalization piece that falls in for sure.
Does Yotpo educate their customers around personalization piece? What does it look like? What is the best way, best practices around personalization? And let's just move beyond the first name. It's 2025.
Yeah, we do, and I think the other thing is as well is like looking at your tech stack and your products as well. Like obviously we do reviews and loyalty as well. One thing that we definitely look at is if you are a reviews customer, are you using product recommendations? And again, like if you're using SearchBring, like how are you using that into that reviews product? The loyalty, if you're using a loyalty program, even if it's not a Yopo loyalty program, how are you using that? How are you communicating to your customers? Like if non-loyalty to loyalty customers, as they should be getting two different emails, but a lot of the times they're not. They're just getting this spraying the same message, and it's normally hey legend, and then it's not even my name, and it's the same email that you're getting from non-loyalty to loyalty. So again, like we try educate people around how to communicate to different segments. And I think again, segmentation is so important right there. You know what I mean? Like making sure that your top customers are getting that really top experience compared to someone that's come to you for the first time. Like that's going to be a whole different experience
Onboarding. Yeah.
communication. But
Yeah.
again, a lot of brands don't do that. They just spray. And again, I'll give you an example. I was chatting to used to be a very big fashion brand, struggling a little bit now, and I was like, hey, like, what's going on? Your emails are they feel like that you're just spraying emails. And they were like, yeah, we're really struggling at the moment financially. So we just need sales. So we're just spraying our database. That to me, that business is not going to be around in the next 12 months.
It's not
Like,
uncommon.
If that's your
Mhm.
strategy, like
Yeah.
that's just not going to fly anymore. And it's sad because again, I just feel like we've probably let down a lot of brands, and they've been burnt and stuff like that. But again, like if your strategy is no strategy, you're just gonna spray your database. You're gonna have unsubscribes. You're not gonna community is gonna start dying. It's just it's not gonna last.
I appreciate you. Very nice breakdown, and thank you for all those practical tips. This is great. I have a couple of questions for you,
Yeah.
and I turned them into signature questions on Spotlight Fridays because I would like the community to know a little bit more about you. What been your biggest challenge, and what did you learn from it?
Oh, my biggest challenge to stop being a people pleaser. I think when I first started in the partner ecosystem, I was a bit of a yes man. I would say, yes, I will do this event with you. Yes, we'll partner with you. And my biggest learning curve is no, my time is precious. Sometimes your partnership is not going to be value for our customers or even your time and your value. And I think figuring out really quickly on who you partner with, where your time goes, because time is very precious and valuable in our ecosystem. So not being a people pleaser, and I'm not here to be liked. End of the day, I'm here to be for my customers first, and now making sure our staff, have got work life balance. But if you're putting your eggs in every single basket, then it just burns you out.
It's a big one. Thanks for sharing. I'm sure a lot of people can relate. I have another one for you.
Yeah.
What advice would you give to a younger self?
Oh my goodness. What advice would I give? That everything will be okay. I think when I look back, especially with what's happening in the world right now, there's a lot of struggling happening and stuff like that. I think yeah, even when I look back at my younger self, it's just like, you know what? Everything will work out in the end. I think there's amazing people in our ecosystem, in our lives, and I think like, yeah, I know a lot of people are struggling at the moment, and I just think for me, it's just like, there's really good people out there. Lean on us. I think ask for help, but I just think like it's never going to be doom and gloom for always, and yeah, it's always going to turn around, and yeah, it's going to be good. I'm, a-
This
I'm a
is brilliant.
prime example of that. So
Yes, you're very optimistic. I think, was it Maria Folio who came up with the term everything is figure outable, something like this. And I think she wrote a book about it. But I think it's just such a nice word for it. We can
yeah,
figure everything out.
it can, and that not even in personal life, but in business as well. I know businesses are struggling at the moment and stuff, but like end of the day, uh, it does get better. Like I think, like I said, one thing that I do love about ecosystem is we have so many incredible minds, so many incredible people,
Yes.
and we're all pretty, like, I think generally, like the people in my circle, we're all pretty vulnerable and open. Like no one's going to sugarcoat anything for you and stuff. My door's always open for people if they want to chat. I'm not going to sit here and be like everything's amazing. It's tough. Like what we do is really hard work. I think people see us going to events and all this kind of stuff from the outside, like, oh wow, it looks really great, but it's a hustle. It's we have our ups and downs, but I think at the end of the day, like you said, everything is figure it out. We can figure it out. There are solutions, and there's great people to lean on for advice.
This has been such an amazing chat, right?
I can't believe
Even
it's
though
already been half an hour. I could keep
I
going
know.
and going with you. Like that's really,
Yes, we can. I think that's why we need to organize part two. But
yeah.
it's been such a pleasure. I've known you for quite a few years, and even today, I learned something new. You're an
And I
amazing human. I appreciate you.
appreciate you
Thank
as
you so
well.
much for joining. It's been a joy.
Thank you for having me, and I look forward to seeing you in person soon.
Thanks so much. Likewise. Thanks so much, everyone, for joining. Have a lovely rest of the day and a beautiful weekend. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, everyone.